Okay.
Speaking of the name, though, whether it be Burn the Shops or the Ships, how did you come up with the title of the album? Because I know, I mean, for King of Country, it took you a while to pick that one there. Was it a similar process?
Well, there's a song called Burn the Ship, so that obviously helps point you in at least the right direction. But the story actually is that my wife, the lengthier story is my wife, when she was pregnant with our second son, Phoenix, she was taking some medicine, and she called me when we were in Austin, Texas, after she realized, she couldn't stop taking this medicine, actually. And so she said, hey, I need you to come home and we need to deal with this. And so the next day we went to a mental health facility, and as we were in the waiting room, eventually a nurse came out and said, hey, you guys, Courtney, you ready to come back for an evaluation? And we both got up to go, and they looked at me and they said, Luke, you don't get to come along on this. You've got to stay out there. And that was a difficult moment. And eventually she comes back out a little while later, and they say, hey, we recommend outpatient therapy for about 2.5 weeks. And so we did that, drop her off at 9 a.m. in the morning, pick her up at 2 p.m. And she'd shown such remarkable improvement in that 2 weeks that they said, hey, you're discharged, you're free to go. And when we were at home one night, she had that bottle of pills in her hand. And she said, Luke, I need to go and flush these pills because these pills represent so much shame and guilt in my life. And I was reminded of a story about an explorer who went to a foreign land. And when he arrived with all of his men on the beaches of this land, he said to his men, hey, we're going to go explore the horizon. We're going to go see what this land has for us. And he realized that his men didn't want to follow him. So he waits a few days, calls all of his men to the shoreline, and at that point, once they were all accounted for, he gave his generals the command to burn the ships, because he says, we will not retreat, we will not go back, we will not live in the past, but we'll live in our future. And for my wife, when she was flushing those pills, that was her moment of burning the ships. And so that kind of inspired the song and then really the album title.
Oh wow! Thanks. Yeah, thanks so
That's
much for sharing that with us.
We're all just jovial.
No.
You asked me that.
But it's so fantastic, and you got to be vulnerable, and a lot of your songs on the album are pretty vulnerable. Yeah. I mean, to put that out there, Joel, what's the most vulnerable song probably for you on this album?
Well, this has been a real great project for both of us because the first one, it's our third album. The first one, you're just finding the footing, like how we. And the second one, Luke was walking through a lot, and so really, in some ways, a lot of my role as a musical partner in that was to kind of pull a lot of the music and the songs out of him. But this one was really a kind of a balanced record between us. So there's songs that mutually mean a lot to us, like Joy or God on the Nose, and then there are songs that are like, Burn the Ships for him, or Fight on Fighter, which is written about my wife for me, or one in particular, which I'll share a bit more about tonight at the concert, but Control, because I am a recovering control freak, addict, and so it's a song that actually took 5 years to write. Wow. We wrote the chorus for the last project. And then I wrote 2 other songs, kind of apart from Luke, on this project. And I remember I've flown to England to work with one of our producers, and he heard the 3 songs, this chorus from 5 years ago, because I felt like I needed to play it to him for some reason. And then he played him this other 2 songs, and he looked at me and he said, Joe, you've been trying to write the same song for 5 years. And so we took the 3 songs and kind of did a mashup. We took pieces of all of them, put them together, and it became this song, Control. Wow. Which is ironic because, that's not how you write a song. It take 5 years to write a song. So there was a release of control in that as well.
So how have people have reacted to your latest album? Has there been a particular person that has shared their story and it's just really resonated with you and stuck with you guys?
It's been really remarkable. So we're just a few days from kind of the 4-month birthday of Burn the Ships, if you will. And on this trip to see, because America is really about singles, on the radio, and Australia is much more, they get, I love it, we still consume albums down here. And so the stories, it's just it's story after story after story. I'm trying to pluck one out. But there's been, young people who are kind of on the edge of suicide, and God on their Nose kind of crept up on them. Or one of the closest to home is probably our cousins, because we have 24 cousins here. Yeah. And my uncle, Keith, our mum's brother, passed away suddenly of a massive heart attack last year. He's in his early 60s. He wasn't like healthy, just been to the doctor. And Amy, our cousin, came to me at his funeral, and she said, "I just want you to know, Shoulders has really been carrying me through this." And she sent me a text message because they'd come to the show in Brisbane. They're all over in Brizzy, and she said, sent me this long text, which is really sweet. And she said, "Look, Shoulders really carried me through the mourning of losing my dad, and then joy mid last year was." I sensed it was a message from God, and even it was something my dad would have said to us. It was like, hey, you need to go back and you need to make a decision as a wife, as a mum, as the daughter, to obviously to her auntie who's lost her husband, and she's trying to carry the mourning with her. So that was that really meant a lot to me, directly from family, But man, it's just been. I mean, we'll step out there now, and it's kind of knocks your socks off what people are going through.
And it's amazing that through your lyrics, people just know that it's God, isn't it? And that's just awesome. So we know you guys got to run. So thank you so much for including Perth on your tour. We really appreciate it. So all the best tonight, and all the best for the rest of your trip overseas as well.
Oh, thank you guys very much for the time.